Have you ever looked back at your relationships and quietly asked yourself, how did I end up here again? Different face, different name, same ache. You promised yourself you wouldn't fall for someone emotionally unavailable again. You said you wouldn't chase mixed signals. You swore you were done confusing intensity with intimacy, and yet somehow it feels familiar. What if the problem isn't that you're unlucky in love? What if your nervous system is choosing what feels familiar, not what is healthy? What if your partner choice isn't random, but a reflection of wounds you had to adapt to long before you ever fell in love? Let's talk about the trauma pattern you may not even realize you're repeating. We like to believe that we choose partners consciously, based on chemistry, attraction, shared values, and to some degree that's true. But beneath the surface, something much older is at work. As children, we adapt to our environment in order to survive. If love was inconsistent, we learned to cling. If love was conditional, we learned to perform. If closeness felt unsafe, we learned to disconnect from our own needs. These adaptations were intelligent. They kept us connected to the caregivers we depended on. They were not flaws, they were survival strategies. But here's the quiet tragedy: what helped us survive childhood can sabotage us in adulthood. Your nervous system is not searching for happiness. It is searching for familiarity. If chaos feels familiar, calm can feel boring. If emotional distance feels familiar, intimacy can feel threatening. If you had to earn love, you may feel most alive when chasing it. So when you meet someone who mirrors the emotional environment you grew up in, something inside you says, this feels like home, even if that home once hurt you. We don't fall in love with people. We fall in love with emotional patterns. The emotionally unavailable partner isn't attractive because you enjoy suffering. They're attractive because your body recognizes the rhythm, the longing, the uncertainty, the hope of finally being chosen. The chase becomes a subconscious attempt to repair the past. If I can make this person stay, if I can finally be enough, if I can win this love, then maybe unconsciously you rewrite the ending you didn't get as a child. But adult relationships are not therapy sessions for childhood wounds. They are mirrors, and they will reflect back what is still unresolved. The moment you begin healing, something shifts. The intense chemistry that once felt irresistible may start to feel exhausting. The unpredictability that once felt exciting begins to feel unsafe. And the quiet, steady person you once overlooked starts to feel grounding. Healing doesn't mean forcing yourself to choose differently. It means your attraction changes naturally because your nervous system changes. When you no longer equate love with anxiety, when your body no longer confuses longing with connection, when you believe at a cellular level that you are worthy of consistency, you stop chasing what hurts you, and you start recognizing what truly nourishes you. This is not about blaming your parents. It's not about shaming yourself. It's about understanding that your relationship patterns are adaptations, and adaptations can evolve. You are not choosing the wrong partner because you are broken. You are choosing from an old blueprint, and blueprints can be rewritten. I would like to say that when you are choosing the partner, here are some important things that you should keep in mind. First of all, attraction is driven by familiarity, not health. Attraction is far less romantic than we like to believe. We imagine it as destiny, chemistry, fate. But much of what we call chemistry is actually recognition. The body recognizing a pattern it has known before. The nervous system is not designed to seek happiness. It is designed to seek survival. And survival, especially in early life, is built on adaptation to whatever environment we were given. If love came with tension, your body learned to associate tension with connection. If affection was unpredictable, your system learned to stay alert, scanning for signs of withdrawal. If you had to earn warmth through compliance, achievement, or emotional caretaking, your body linked effort with worth. These associations are not conscious decisions. They are imprints. So when you meet someone who carries a similar emotional tone, distant, inconsistent, slightly out of reach, something inside you settles into a strange familiarity. It may not feel calm, it may not feel secure, but it feels known, and what is known feels safer than what is unknown. Even if what is known once hurt you, a regulated, emotionally available partner can initially feel unsettling. Their consistency may feel dull, their clarity may feel suspicious, their availability may even activate anxiety. not because they are wrong for you, but because your system does not yet recognize steady love as safe. We are often drawn not to what is healthy, but to what confirms our earliest emotional learning. If your childhood taught you that love must be chaste, you may feel most alive in pursuit. If it taught you that closeness is fragile, you may bond most deeply with someone who is half present. If you learn that your needs overwhelm others, you may feel magnetized toward people who keep you guessing. This is not weakness. It is conditioning. The nervous system encodes patterns long before the thinking mind develops language. A child does not analyze attachment, they absorb it. They adapt to the emotional weather of the home, and those adaptations quietly shape adult desire. When you feel an intense pull towards someone who destabilizes you, it is often not passion, it is activation. The body saying, "I've been here before." The tragedy is that familiarity can masquerade as compatibility. And because the pattern feels natural, we assume it must be right. But familiarity is not the same as health. Health often feels slower, quieter, less dramatic. It does not spike adrenaline. It does not keep you obsessively checking your phone. It does not recreate the longing of waiting to be chosen. It feels steady. And if your early life lacked steadiness, steadiness may feel foreign. Healing begins when you become curious about your attraction instead of judging it. Instead of asking, "Why do I always choose the wrong person?" you begin to ask, "What does this dynamic feel like in my body? And when have I felt this before?" That question shifts everything. Because when you understand that attraction is shaped by old survival patterns, you stop shaming yourself. You recognize that you were never irrational. Your body was simply following a map drawn in childhood. And the beautiful truth is this maps can be updated. As you heal, as your nervous system learns safety through therapy, self-awareness, and emotionally attuned relationships, your sense of attraction begins to change. What once felt electric may start to feel exhausting. What once felt boring may start to feel peaceful. You do not force yourself to choose differently. You become different, and so does what draws you in. Attraction then becomes less about repeating the past and more about supporting who you are becoming. And that is where real freedom and love begins. Secondly, emotionally unavailable partners mirror early attachment wounds. Emotionally unavailable partners do not enter your life by accident. They resonate with something already living inside you, something shaped long before you knew what love was supposed to look like. As children, we do not choose our emotional environment. We adapt to it. If a parent was physically present but emotionally distant, you learn to read subtle cues, the shift in tone, the withdrawal of eye contact, the silence that meant you had somehow done something wrong. You learn to shrink your needs so you wouldn't burden them. You learn to perform, to achieve, to be easy, to be useful, not because you were manipulative, but because connection was survival. When love is inconsistent, a child does not conclude, "My caregiver is struggling." The child concludes, "Something about me must not be enough." And from that moment, the nervous system organizes itself around preserving connection at all costs. So when you meet someone in adulthood who is charming yet distant, warm yet unpredictable, something deeply encoded begins to stir. Their emotional unavailability feels strangely familiar. It activates the same vigilance, the same longing, the same quiet hope you carried as a child. Maybe this time I can finally be chosen. You are not drawn to their distance because you enjoy suffering. You are drawn to it because your body recognizes the emotional climate, the waiting, the guessing, the small doses of approval, the relief when attention briefly returns. This is not about logic, it is about imprint. Can emotionally unavailable partner recreates the rhythm of early attachment wounds, the rhythm of reaching and not quite arriving, the rhythm of closeness followed by withdrawal, the rhythm of trying harder when love feels fragile. In that dynamic, something old is attempting to resolve itself. The adult self believes it is choosing a partner, but often the younger self is searching for repair, searching for a different ending to an unfinished story. If I can get this person to open up, if I can finally be enough, if I can prove my worth, then perhaps the original wound will close. But relationships do not heal wounds through repetition. They amplify them. An emotionally unavailable partner does not cause your attachment wound, they expose it. They step into a space that was already sensitized. And because the wound feels familiar, the dynamic feels compelling, there is also something else at play. Emotional availability can feel overwhelming if you grew up without it. Deep attunement requires vulnerability. It requires being seen. And for someone whose needs were ignored or dismissed, being seen can feel just as threatening as being abandoned. So the distant partner becomes safer than the intimate one. They keep you close enough to hope, but far enough to avoid true exposure. This pattern is not a character flaw. It is an adaptive strategy that once made sense. A child who pursues a distant caregiver is not weak. They are wired to survive. That wiring does not simply disappear in adulthood, but awareness changes the trajectory. When you begin to notice that your attraction spikes around emotional unpredictability, that your body tightens in the presence of distance, that you feel most alive when chasing connection, you are not failing, you are remembering, and remembering is the first step toward healing. Because once you see that your partner is mirroring an early attachment wound, you can stop trying to win the love you never received and start giving yourself what was missing: steadiness, compassion, and boundaries. You cannot force someone into emotional availability, but you can become available to yourself. And when you do, the emotional climate you tolerate begins to shift. The mirror changes. The goal is not to blame the past. It is to understand how deeply it shaped your sense of what feels like love, so that you can begin choosing not from old wounds, but from present awareness. That is where new patterns are born. And another thing is, the chase is an unconscious attempt to repair the past. The chase feels like passion. It feels like chemistry. It feels like destiny pulling you towards someone just out of reach. But very often, the chase is not about the present at all. It is about the past. When love in early life was inconsistent, warm one moment, distant the next, the nervous system learned to stay activated. A child in that environment becomes hyper-attuned. They scan for approval. They monitor subtle shifts. And they try harder when connection feels threatened. Because for a child, losing connection is not just painful, it feels dangerous. So the child adapts. They pursue. They perform. They become whatever they need to be in order to maintain proximity. That pattern does not disappear simply because we grow older. It becomes romanticized. In adulthood, when you find yourself intensely drawn to someone emotionally unavailable, the pursuit can feel intoxicating. The uncertainty creates longing. The small moments of closeness feel euphoric. The inconsistency keeps the nervous system alert and engaged. What feels like spark is often activation. The chase becomes an unconscious attempt to finally master what once felt uncontrollable. If I can get this distant person to stay, if I can finally be enough for someone who holds back, if I can win over someone who doesn't easily give love, then perhaps the original wound will heal. But here is the quiet truth: you are not trying to win them. You are trying to rewrite an old emotional story. The younger part of you is still waiting for the parent who was distracted, overwhelmed, emotionally absent, or unpredictable to finally turn toward you fully. The adult relationship becomes the stage where that unfinished longing plays out. And because the wound is old, the drive is powerful. The chase provides a strange sense of purpose. It gives the nervous system something familiar to organize around: striving, hoping, anticipating. It can feel more alive than calm, reciprocal love, because calm was never what you adapted to. Steady love may feel foreign. Reciprocity may feel suspicious. Availability may feel undeserved. But the chase feels earned. There is also something profoundly compassionate to understand here. This pattern was intelligent. A child who chased connection was not dysfunctional. They were adaptive. They were trying to survive in the only way they knew how. The problem is not that you learned to chase. The problem is that the strategy followed you into a different stage of life. In adult relationships, the chase does not heal the wound. It deepens it. Because every time you pursue someone who remains emotionally distant, the original experience of not being chosen is reinforced. The nervous system does not register victory, it registers repetition. And repetition does not equal repair. True repair begins not when the other person finally changes, but when you recognize what the chase is doing inside you. When you pause and ask, what am I hoping this person will give me? When have I felt this longing before? Who was I trying to reach long ago? That moment of awareness interrupts the cycle. You begin to see that the intensity is not proof of compatibility. It is evidence of activation. And activation is not love. Love does not require pursuit. Love does not require proving. Love does not require convincing someone to stay. When healing begins, something shifts internally. The nervous system slowly learns that connection does not have to be earned through striving. That presence can be mutual. That being chosen does not require self-abandonment. And as that internal shift happens, the chase loses its grip. Not because you force yourself to stop wanting unavailable people, but because your body no longer confuses anxiety with attraction. The deepest repair is not getting the distant part turned toward you. It is turning toward yourself in the moments you once would have chased. That is where the old story truly changes. And when trauma patterns are adaptive, not character flaws, when we look at our relationship patterns with shame, we miss something essential. We assume that if we keep repeating painful dynamics, there must be something defective in us, that we are needy, weak, irrational, broken. But trauma patterns are not character flaws, they are adaptations. A child does not choose their coping strategies consciously. The nervous system responds to the emotional environment automatically. If the environment is unpredictable, the system becomes hypervigilant. If emotional expression is dismissed, the system suppresses feelings. If love feels conditional, the system strives for perfection. These responses are not moral failures. They are intelligent survival mechanisms. Imagine a child growing up in a home where anger erupts without warning. That child may become exceptionally attuned to others' moods, reading the room before anyone speaks. As an adult, that same sensitivity may look like overthinking or anxiety in relationships. But originally, it kept them safe. Or imagine a child whose needs were met inconsistently. They may learn to cling tightly to connection, fearing abandonment. As adults, that attachment may show up as jealousy or difficulty letting go. But at one time, it was the only way they knew to maintain closeness. The nervous system always chooses survival over authenticity. If being authentic threatened connection, you learn to hide parts of yourself. If expressing anger led to rejection, you swallowed it. If asking for reassurance felt risky, you pretended you didn't need it. These patterns were not sabotage, they were protection. The tragedy is not that you adapted. The tragedy is that you may still be using strategies designed for a childhood environment in adult relationships where they no longer serve you. And because they operate beneath conscious awareness, you may interpret them as just who I am. But who you are is not the same as how you adapted. There is a profound difference between identity and coping. When you say, I'm just too needy, what you may actually mean is, my nervous system learned that closeness was unstable. When you say, I always choose unavailable partners, what you may mean is, unavailability feels familiar. When you say, I ruin relationships, what may be true is, I'm protecting myself the only way I know how. Shame freezes patterns in place. Compassion allows them to evolve. If you see your trauma responses as flaws, you will try to fight them. You will criticize yourself. You will promise to be different. But criticism activates the same threat response that created the pattern in the first place. Healing begins not with self-judgment, but with curiosity. Instead of asking, what's wrong with me? You begin asking, what was this protecting me from? That question shifts the entire landscape. Because when you understand that your behaviors once ensured survival, that they helped you navigate an environment you had no control over, something softens. You stop being at war with yourself. And paradoxically, when you stop fighting the pattern, it begins to loosen. The nervous system changes through safety, not shame. Through awareness, not force. You were never sabotaging yourself, you were surviving. And now, as an adult, you have the opportunity to update the strategies, not by rejecting the parts of you that adapted, but by thanking them for protecting you and gently teaching them that the present is different from the past. Trauma patterns are not proof of weakness. They are proof of resilience, and resilience can evolve into something even more powerful, conscious choice. Healing changes attraction naturally. Healing does not begin by forcing yourself to choose different partners. It begins by changing the relationship you have with yourself. When you start to understand your nervous system, when you see how your attraction has been shaped by old emotional imprints, something subtle begins to shift, not in your preferences overnight, but in your body. Before healing, attraction often feels urgent, magnetic, intense. You feel pulled toward people who create a spike in emotion, anticipation, anxiety, longing. You interpret that activation as chemistry. But as you heal, your nervous system becomes less reactive. You begin to regulate. You learn to sit with discomfort instead of chasing relief. You build internal safety rather than outsourcing it to someone else's attention. And when that happens, what once felt intoxicating can start to feel exhausting. The emotionally unavailable person who once consumed your thoughts may now feel draining. The mixed signals that once kept you hooked may begin to feel like red flags instead of mystery. The adrenaline that once felt like passion may now feel like stress. This is not you becoming less romantic. It is you becoming more regulated. A dysregulated nervous system is drawn to intensity because intensity feels familiar. A regulated nervous system is drawn to steadiness because steadiness feels safe. When you no longer equate anxiety with attraction, calm becomes appealing. When you no longer need to earn love, mutual effort feels satisfying. When your sense of worth is internal, you stop being magnetized by people who make you question it. Healing changes the emotional baseline inside you, and attraction follows that baseline. You may notice that you start valuing consistency over charisma, emotional presence over charm, reliability over thrill. You become less interested in being chosen by someone impressive and more interested in whether you feel at ease around them. Ease becomes attractive. You also begin to recognize your own internal cues more clearly. Instead of ignoring the tightness in your chest when someone withdraws, you listen to it. Instead of dismissing your need for reassurance, you honor it. Instead of overriding discomfort to maintain connection, you pause. That pause is healing in action, and in that pause, your choices change. You are no longer driven solely by unconscious patterns. You are responding from awareness. There is something else that shifts as well. You stop trying to complete yourself through another person. The longing that once fueled the chase begins to soften, because you are no longer seeking repair from someone who mirrors your wounds. You are repairing them within. As you build internal security through therapy, self-reflection, emotionally attuned friendships, honest conversations, your nervous system learns that closeness does not require self-abandonment, and once self-abandonment is no longer necessary, the people who require it lose their appeal. This is why healing does not feel like discipline. It feels like discernment. You do not wake up one day and decide, I will stop being attracted to unavailable people. Instead, you notice that the attraction simply isn't as strong. The fantasy fades, the urgency quiets, and in its place, something steadier emerges. You begin to feel drawn to people who are emotionally present, people who respond consistently, people who can tolerate your needs without retreating, not because you forced yourself to want them, but because your body now recognizes safety as desirable. Healing does not make you less passionate. It makes you less compelled by what hurts you. And when attraction is no longer dictated by old wounds, love stops feeling like a reenactment of the past and starts feeling like a choice aligned with who you are becoming.